Ever feel like sometimes when you're trying to understand finance stuff, it's like everyone's speaking a different language?
Yeah, definitely.
Well, that's what we're tackling today by going straight to the source.
Oh,
We're
cool.
diving deep into Bitcoin, but like way back to the beginning.
Right back to the start.
Yeah, with Satoshi Nakamoto's white paper from 2008.
The OG Bitcoin explainer.
It's like this foundational document, almost like discovering the Rosetta Stone, but for money, basically.
Yeah, it's kind of like the blueprint for this whole new financial system.
Exactly. And I'll be honest, the first time I looked at it, it was a bit,
A bit much.
yeah, it felt like reading hieroglyphics or something. But don't worry, we're going to break it all down.
We'll decode it together.
Yeah, we're translating all the complicated jargon, so that everyone listening can understand why Bitcoin's core ideas are so, so important.
And what's really cool is that Nakamoto doesn't actually start with like super complex algorithms or anything.
Yeah.
He starts with a really simple question. How do you actually build trust in like a digital world?
That's a good question because, if you think about it, with physical cash, it's tangible.
Right.
You can hold it, touch it.
You just know it's real.
Yeah, there's that assurance that it has value.
Exactly.
But with online payments, things get a bit
Tricky.
very tricky. It makes you wonder, how do you actually stop someone from just copying a digital dollar?
Yeah, and spending it twice.
Exactly, spending it over and over again.
That's the big problem, the double spending problem. And the way traditional systems solve that is by relying on what Nakamoto calls trusted third parties,
Okay.
like banks.
Right, they're the middlemen.
Exactly. They're the intermediaries. They verify transactions. They keep everything in check, supposedly.
Makes sense, but those intermediaries, they come with their own downsides, right?
Absolutely.
You've got transaction fees, the risk of fraud.
And sometimes even the risk of censorship.
That's right, not ideal at all.
Not ideal.
It's almost like having this financial babysitter who has to approve everything.
Right.
Which, let's be honest, isn't really the freedom or flexibility most of us are looking for in a digital age, right?
Exactly. We want something better. And that's where Bitcoin's whole vision of decentralization comes in.
Okay, I like the sound of that.
It's a system where there's no single entity calling all the shots.
So no more middlemen, really.
Yeah, and trust is built into the system through the tech itself,
Yeah.
not powerful institutions.
Okay, so no more middlemen, that sounds great, but how does that actually work in practice?
Okay, so picture this. A digital ledger,
Okay.
but it's not stored in just one place.
Hmm.
It's copied across tons of computers all around the world.
Right, so it's distributed.
This shared record, this ledger, is what we call the blockchain.
Oh,
And the really important thing is that it's constantly being updated.
okay.
Every single Bitcoin transaction gets added to it.
Interesting.
That's what makes it basically tamper-proof.
So instead of having like a bank overseeing everything, you've got this whole network of computers double-checking each other's work.
It's like a global checks and balances system.
Yeah. Okay, that makes sense. But then how do you make sure that everyone in this system is actually playing by the rules?
Well, this is where the real genius of Bitcoin comes in. Proof of work.
Proof of work.
Yeah. Think of it like a massive online competition, like all the computers in the network racing to solve this incredibly complex math puzzle.
So it's like a giant Sudoku challenge, but for computers?
Kind of, yeah. And solving this puzzle, which we call mining,
Mine
requires a ton of computer power.
I bet.
But here's the thing. The very first miner to crack the code, they get to add the next block of transactions to the blockchain.
Oh, okay.
And they get rewarded for it, too.
Rewarded. With what?
With freshly minted Bitcoin.
So it's kind of like a digital gold rush. Instead of picks and shovels, though, it's computer power trying to mine that Bitcoin.
100%. And the security aspect of it is tied directly to this mining process.
Okay, I'm listening.
So each block of transactions, right, it's linked to the one right before it. They all sort of chain together.
Hence the name blockchain. Okay, I'm with you.
Exactly. Now imagine someone wants to mess with the system. They want to go back and change a transaction that already went through.
Right, because they think they're slick.
They'd have to do more than just alter one block. They'd have to rewrite every single block that came after the one they're trying to change.
Ooh, that's a lot of work.
And remember how much computing power goes into solving just one of those puzzles?
Yeah, a ton.
It'd be almost impossible to do. Like trying to, I don't know, outrun a bullet train or something.
So theoretically possible, but realistically not going to happen.
You got it. And on top of that, the network's always growing. New miners are joining all the time, adding even more computing power to the mix. It just keeps getting more secure.
Wow, that's a pretty ingenious system, I have to admit.
It's pretty elegant. All
It
right.
is. But okay, let's talk about the miners for a sec.
Sure.
What's to stop them from like teaming up? You know, like those kids who try to rig the school raffle to make sure they win?
Right, right. Well, remember those Bitcoin rewards we talked about?
Yeah, the freshly minted Bitcoin.
That's the incentive for the miners to stay honest.
Okay, because they want to get that reward.
Exactly. Every new block they add means more potential Bitcoin for them. So it's in their best interest to keep things running smoothly, keep the network secure. Plus, think about it, the more valuable Bitcoin becomes.
The more miners want to get in on the action.
Exactly. Which just makes the network even stronger.
So it's almost like a self-balancing thing, like this whole ecosystem where the rewards keep everything in check. Okay, that's actually really clever.
It's an elegant system.
It really is. But okay, let's switch gears for a sec. Let's talk about privacy.
Okay, yeah.
If all these transactions are like out there on a public ledger, doesn't that mean anyone can just,
Snoop around.
yeah, see what I'm buying online? Like, am I really that exposed?
That's a really common worry, but it's actually a bit of a misconception. So yes, the blockchain is public, it's transparent, but your actual identity isn't directly tied to your transactions.
Okay.
Instead of using real names, Bitcoin uses what are called pseudonymous addresses, basically these secret digital codes.
So it'd be like using, what, like a burner email address for online shopping? You're not giving away your real info.
That's a great way to put it. It's not like guaranteed complete anonymity or anything,
Right.
but it does add this really important layer of privacy. Think about it this way. You see delivery trucks all the time, right?
Yeah, tons.
You see them dropping off packages, but you don't automatically know what's inside those packages,
Yeah.
right? Or who sent them.
Okay, yeah. That does make me feel a bit better about the whole privacy thing.
Yeah, it's designed to be pretty private, but, there are other things to think about, too, when we're talking about security.
You mean like that, what is it, a 51% attack?
Yeah, that's the big one.
Is that like a real possibility? Could someone actually gain control over the majority of the network and just like, I don't know, wreak havoc?
All right, so that is the million-dollar question. And to understand it, we need to delve into a little probability.
Okay.
Have you ever heard of the gambler's ruin?
Vaguely.
Picture this. You're at a casino.
Casino, huh? Okay, now you're speaking my language. Kind of. Go on. I'm all ears.
So imagine you're at the roulette table, right? And it's been a rough night, you're down, but you're convinced your luck has to turn around.
Been there.
So you keep betting, hoping to win back your losses.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. The longer you keep playing, the higher the odds are that you'll just lose everything.
Yeah, that's not good.
No, it's not. That's the gambler's ruin, that risk of going completely bankrupt when you're basically betting against the house.
Right. I'm with you so far, but how does this relate back to Bitcoin and that whole 51% attack thing?
Okay, so think of the attacker, the person who wants to take over the Bitcoin network, as the gambler in our casino scenario. They're trying to overpower the honest majority of the network, which means they're essentially betting against the house.
Okay.
But every time a new block gets added to that blockchain, the honest network, it's like the house just got stronger. The attacker falls further and further behind.
So it's like they're trying to, I don't know, win a race, but the finish line just keeps moving further and further away.
Exactly. The attacker is always playing catch-up. And just like with that gambler facing the house advantage, the attacker's chances of actually pulling off this 51% attack, they get slimmer with every single block that gets added to the chain.
So the Bitcoin network, it's just too big, too decentralized for one entity to hijack the whole thing.
Statistically speaking, yeah, it's super improbable. Like winning the lottery multiple times in a row, kind of improbable. It's designed to make that kind of attack practically impossible.
Well, that's definitely reassuring. So to sum it up, this whole proof-of-work system, it ensures that nobody can just waltz in and manipulate the blockchain because it would take an insane amount of computing power.
Yeah, you've got it.
Yeah.
And it incentivizes everyone to play by the rules. But like with anything, there are always trade-offs.
Oh, like what? Well, one of the biggest criticisms of Bitcoin is its environmental impact.
Right, because all that computing power for mining, that eats up a ton of energy, doesn't it?
It does. It's a real concern. So finding a way to make Bitcoin more sustainable, that's a big challenge.
Definitely something to think about. Well, wow, we've covered a lot of ground today, from the shortcomings of traditional finance to the crazy potential of blockchain and how this whole thing even works. I'll admit, I started this deep dive a little intimidated.
It's dense
It
stuff.
is, but honestly, hearing you explain it all, I'm actually kind of blown away by how clever Bitcoin's design is.
It really is remarkable. And the craziest part is that this was all laid out back in 2008 in that one white paper.
Right. It's like,
Yeah.
what other revolutionary technologies are just waiting to be discovered,
Right?
right?
Makes you think.
It really does. And to everyone listening, if you're curious to learn more, we'll link to Satoshi's original white paper in the show notes. It's well worth a read, even if it takes a few tries to wrap your head around it. But hey, that's part of the fun. Until next time, keep exploring, keep questioning, and stay curious.